Good Friday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. I'm your meteorologist, Justin Peterson, and let's go in and talk about the weather for your Friday evening going into your future. We have some stuff that we are going to go on and talk about tonight, but before we go on and get into that, what are we going to talk about tonight just in general? Well, if we go on and look at the what's on tap screen. We're going to be talking about obviously the weather for tonight. We're going to be talking about the weather for tomorrow, current conditions, what's currently going on right now throughout the entire state. Also, we will be talking about the weather for our short term future, long term future, and then mainly stuff like our rainfall expectations as we go into this weekend, as some isolated flash flooding is possible, and then mid next week as we look for a rapid warm up and mostly dry, if not almost completely dry conditions. If you have not hit the like button yet, go on and do so. That's free, and you can change your mind at any time. Right now, we have around a good 6 people that have tuned in and 6 likes, so it seems like most of us are there. Also, hit the subscribe button if you are not already. We are at 704, trying to get to 800, 96 away from that main goal. Also, hit the share button. Share with your friends, your family members, your acquaintances, people that you don't even talk to like that, because it helps us grow here, helps get me, better content out, and it will also, like I said, not only help me out, but also help the people here on the channel. And also, it is indeed Friday, so you know what that means. Let's go and give ourselves a round of applause for making it to Friday. Yes, we've made it all the way to Friday. So we are now officially at that weekend, and we can finally take this time to relax. So let's go on now and talk about our current condition, what's currently going on right now throughout the state. So we're going to start off first by looking, there we go. Okay, yeah, that's what I want. All right, so we're going to start off now by loading up these current conditions right now as we currently speak. It says right now that absolutely nothing right now throughout the entire state of South Carolina right now. Absolutely nothing. But if we scroll our way out, we don't really have too much going on right now as we speak. We do in fact have some snowfall going on up here inside New York, maybe even some rainfall and a mix definitely of some snowfall going on all the way from the Four Corners region to the South Central West, even into the mid parts of like the southern Midwest potentially even as well. Then as you go up here towards the Northwest, you even see some rainfall, even going into the Pacific Northwest, snowfall going on up there as well. And for the most part, everybody else looks dry. Now, what about for our cloud cover? Well, cloud cover right now actually is more on the clear side. In fact, it looks like that we don't have any cloud cover going over the state right now. We are nice and clear. Look at our cloud cover for the future. If you go in and push this forward, we start off here at 9 o'clock p.m. And as you go in and push this forward, you can see all the way by 12 o'clock in the morning, you have cloud cover going on throughout a good amount, like the upstate going to like the Midlands, the Low Country, the PD, Grand Strand areas. And maybe even some fog development is possible. Here at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have fog cover going on over inside of the PD and Grand Strand areas. You go all the way into around 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. And that fog cover is still over there inside the PD and Grand Strand areas. Now, cloud cover is definitely going to be there as well. Even as you go into around like 11 o'clock in the morning, going into 12 o'clock p.m. tomorrow, cloud cover is still trying to make its way through, but it's looking definitely very good until we get into tomorrow evening, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow like late evening, to where we'll start to see some more cloud cover going on. And even as you go into Sunday, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, cloud cover continues. There goes our low pressure. You can see it, kind of see the rotation of that low pressure right there. So what about for our current temperatures? Current temperatures right now have run a good 49 in Hilton Head Island, 45 in Beaufort, as well as a good 43 in Somerville, 45 in Charleston, as well as 43 in Georgetown, 45 in Merritt Inlet, as well as 44 in Myrtle Beach, 39 in Conway, and 43 in North Myrtle Beach, 44 in Orangeburg, and 45 in Aiken, 45 Columbia, and 43 in Lugoff, 40 Hartsville and Bennettsville, as well as 44 in Union and Spartanburg, 45 in Greenville, 47 Clemson, and 46 in Anderson, 44 in Gaffney, New York, Rock Hill, and Spartanburg. Now for your air quality, everybody's inside the good category, so nothing there in terms of air quality, bad air quality. We're all good. Low temperatures for tonight, around 32 for Spartanburg, 33 for Greenville, 31 Rock Hill, as well as 32 in Greenwood and Newbury, 32 in Winsboro and Columbia, as well as 31 in Camden, Sumter, 29 in King Street, 34 in Georgetown, even around a good 31 in Moncks Corner, 38 in Charleston, and 43 in Hilton Head Island, 32 in Barnwell, and 37 in Myrtle Beach. High temperatures for tomorrow, you have around a good 61 in Greenville, 62 in Spartanburg, as well as a good 61 in Rock Hill, 63 in Cheraw, and 62 in Dillon, 62 inside of Florence, and even around a good 63 in Camden and Sumter, 65 in Columbia, and 65 in Orangeburg, 64 also inside of Walterboro, and 59 in Charleston, Georgetown, 56 Myrtle Beach, and 61 in Hilton Head Island, 64 in Aiken. Now, what about for our rainfall? Rainfall is not expected as we go throughout the next 24 hours. Expect that to change, especially as we get into tomorrow night for our Saturday evening forecast update. But no rainfall is expected between now and around 7 o'clock p.m. tomorrow-ish. Now for the crazy score, we're at a 32. Why are we at a 32? Well, pretty simple. The reason being, number one, it's going to be chilly tonight. I mean, we're going to have some below freezing temperatures for some of us, 31, 30, 29 potentially. So that's definitely something to watch for. Also, with these clear skies, for radiational cooling is also going to be pretty big as well. Not too breezy conditions or anything like that. So it's going to be a very good night in terms of radiational cooling. Then also, there also would be a little bit of a patchy frost potential, especially in the valleys. The inland spots and the chilly lows qualify as a noticeable hazard. Minor early slick spots, plant/pet precautions. Definitely, if you're freezing, make sure you bring those pets inside. Even without widespread freeze or advisories or frost advisory or anything like that. So that's what we're looking at as we go into tonight. Now, if we go on and look into the SPC outlook for today, thunderstorms are not expected as you go throughout today/tonight. Tomorrow, we have no thunderstorm activity there. And on Sunday, thunderstorms are definitely possible. Midlands, Low Country, PD, Grand Strand areas all have a risk for thunderstorms as you go into Sunday. Excessive rainfall. We do, in fact, have a risk for some excessive rainfall, obviously, on day 3, this being Sunday. But they definitely shrunk the area a lot more. Look at this. We had an area inside the Low Country that had like a huge area of isolated flash flooding. That's gone. Walterboro, Somerville, Moncks Corner, Allendale, Charleston, Folly Beach, Seabrook Island, Beaufort. All of these areas are now out of the gun in terms of isolated flash flood potential on Sunday. And then also same thing up here inside the PD in the Grand Strand areas. Conway, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Marion, Lake City, Kingstree, Andrews, Georgetown, all now outside of that isolated flash flood risk. Even if you go on over into the upstate, parts of the upstate has gone away too. Greenville, Travelers Rest, Pickens, Central, Westminster, Walhalla, Anderson, all outside of that isolated flash flood region now. So we definitely did see a decrease, and that was something that definitely could have happened. I mean, we were only 4 to 5 days out. Things will definitely change. Things definitely will change. Still, even as we go into that being tomorrow, and potentially the day of. No fire weather or anything like that, so nothing really to watch for there. So let's go on now and look at the models. Let's go on and look at the models. Make sure that you go on and pay attention to that time. It is in the top, or not the top. I'm thinking about the old one. It's at the bottom part of your screen. Yes, at the bottom part of your screen. Make sure that you pay attention to that because that is very, very important to go on and take a look at. So we're going to start off here at around the 9 o'clock mark, where we usually start off at. We're going to go to the 18Z real quick. We're going to go back. There's the 0Z right here. We're going to start off here at 9 o'clock. You go in and push this forward. Look at this. Nice and dry conditions go on all the way throughout 9 o'clock p.m. tomorrow night. Full next 24 hours. No rainfall. The next time we see rainfall probably be around 11 o'clock p.m. to 12 o'clock in the morning. We have rainfall now going on throughout the upstate. Maybe some rainfall going on throughout the northern like upstate areas near like Rock Hill, for example, Chesterfield, Gaffney being some of those areas. Here's 2 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And, we kind of just have some precursor rain that comes in before the main line gets here. We have some more rainfall 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning, even as you go into around 7 o'clock in the morning, just on Sunday. Just looks like some isolated shower activity. It's not really until you get to around 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning where you start to see rainfall, maybe even some moderate rainfall going on throughout portions of the state. Now the western parts of the state, the upstate, getting a good amount of rainfall. But then as you get to around 12 o'clock p.m., you start to see rainfall, covering almost the entire upstate by noon on Sunday, covering pretty much almost all of the Midlands by noon on Sunday, covering up a good amount of the PD and the Grand Trent areas on noon on Sunday. Now, this will continue, and by time, this is 3 o'clock p.m., the entire state at this point getting rainfall as you go through 3 o'clock p.m., 4 o'clock p.m., 5 o'clock p.m. We're starting to see less inside of the upstate as you get more and more into the evening hours, but it is still there. And there will potentially be even some more at around 7 o'clock p.m. here. So still a lot of stuff to look at because obviously this only goes out to 7 o'clock p.m. on Sunday, meaning that we still have a lot more to look at. But one thing that I can say is that this system, its effects will be felt as early as late Saturday night, going into like 12 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And then, it may take like a little bit of a break, but then some more rainfall maybe a bit later. And then the main system will really be trying to move in as you go into like the late morning hours. Now, one thing that we also want to go on and look at is just actual precipitation amounts. So we're going to look at the total precipitation, and obviously this is just one model run, but it shows a good amount. Shows around like a good inch or two in like the Tri-County area potentially. Shows around a good inch over here in Columbia. Inch and a half in Sumter, 0.7 inside of Florence, 0.7 up there inside of Greenville, in 8/10 of an inch, Anderson, close to an inch in Aiken. So, we're definitely looking at a good amount of rainfall here. And, they're probably still going to be all over the place. If we go on and look at the official forecast from the National Weather Service themselves, the WPC, and then we just look at the next 72 hours to go all the way into Monday at 7 o'clock p.m., we go all the way into the regional outlook, going into South Carolina down here. And for the most part, the actual Weather Prediction Center says that we will have around a good amount of rainfall. Maybe a 7/10 of an inch near Charleston. Maybe a 9/10 of an inch to an inch, possible inside of Columbia. Same thing for parts of the upstate, Florence as well. So I think that this definitely has more of a more central, more kind of like a widespread impact, while the HRRR model kind of just had like these little areas getting like an inch or two of rainfall. Well, everybody else was trying to get to that inch mark. This one has a more widespread, 9/10 of an inch to maybe even an inch mark throughout almost the entire state. So that's the official forecast in terms of rainfall rates if you want to go in and look at yours. There's also the scale at the bottom. If you want to see it, it's kind of cut off a little bit, but yeah, I don't think, let me see, I'm going to get that onto the screen for whenever, I'll work on that tonight, so where I can get it to where you can actually see the numbers. But that's pretty much what we're looking at right now in terms of official rainfall rates. Now, obviously, this is just one model. If you want to look at the NAM 3-kilometer model, that's definitely a completely new one that we can go on and look at. Let me see, they do have it. We're just going to move on and just go all the way through to, this goes like all the way out to Monday. So if we zoom our way in towards the southeast now, and we look at total precipitation, shows definitely a lot less. Shows a lot less. Shows some areas barely even getting 0.05 of an inch. Shows like some isolated spots getting up to an inch, but this is one probably is more of the more outlier one, not really too on par with the other ones. Even if we go on and look at it, you can just tell easily that this thing right here just does not get a whole lot of rainfall moving through. But it's a possibility, if the models say that it's possible, it's a possibility for this to happen. But very, very unlikely right now. So let's go on now and look at our long-term future. Make sure that you pay attention again to that time at the bottom part of your screen. As we go and push this forward, starting off here at 7 o'clock p.m., going and push this forward, that rainfall gets out of here 7 o'clock p.m. on Sunday. Moving into Monday, nice and dry. I mean, look at how nice it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, even Friday. And then finally, we start to see some rainfall potentially as you go into like Saturday, like late morning, early afternoon potentially. So, I mean, this is just going to be a dry week next week. Dry week next week, which is not good for our drought at all. If you weren't here last night, then you don't know, but we now have a D3, an extreme drought now out for a lot of the upstate now. So we desperately need this rainfall. And honestly, everybody should be hoping for a good amount of rainfall. Not enough to, where it's going to like flood or something like that, but definitely enough to where we could definitely start chipping away at this drought. But even if you go all the way into Saturday, like I said, 4 o'clock p.m., continuing this forward, you have a little low pressure. Here you have even a little cold front as well behind it. And, according to this model, it shows some snow mixing with some rain possible as you go into, like, next weekend. Is that going to happen? I mean, that's 222 hours out. Things will change, but, I mean, it shows it. Shows it. Even as you go into after next weekend, the week after next weekend, looks like some more rainfall, and it shows, some snowfall to the north. So, we'll look at that. But again, like I said, that's more into like March the 1st, way too far out. Way too far out. Even if we can go on and also look at the ensembles as well. Just see what they say in terms of any sort of snowfall. And for the most part, the ensembles here, it has like a little area up here. Maybe a good half an inch to an inch up here as we go throughout the next 300 to 400 hours or so up here inside the very far upstate. So, it's possible. It's possible. We'll keep an eye on that and see what happens, though. So now if we go on and look at our temperatures, because I do want to go on and check those out, not snowfall. Here's our temperatures right here. We go into mainly this weekend. I'm going into next week is when I want to look at, because if you remember at the beginning I said warm-up is on the way next week. And so you go on all the way through Sunday. You have this system right here, bringing around a good 60 to 70 degrees for our high temperature on Sunday. For a good amount of us, actually, as well. Cold air gets going. We have some more 60s coming along on Monday. You go all the way into Tuesday. Here's Tuesday at 4 o'clock p.m. You have 60s, you have 70s still here. Even as you go into Wednesday, look at Wednesday. Temperatures up into the 70s. You even see some mid-50s, some mid-70s as well, not mid-50s. Mid-70s going on over here inside of parts of the low country. You move all the way into Thursday. Still 70s going on. Friday comes along, and we may even see some mid to high 70s as you go into later parts of next week. So just a lot of good stuff to look at, but unfortunately, it won't last long as the cold front will be moving through and will definitely be bringing us down as we have another potential, not set in stone. Not set in stone. We can't go and look at the ensembles for it, though, the GEFS real quick, and see what's the mean in terms of temperature. It's probably not going to say too much in terms of freezing. It gets us down to the 30s for the most part, but, not freezing like that individual run just said. So, even if you go in and continue to push it forward, you're not really seeing anything in terms of, below freezing temperatures. Even as you go into next week, do you see those 70s there? You see 70s, you definitely do. As you go into next weekend. So, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But definitely some 70s, maybe even some mid to upper 70s definitely is in the forecast for next week. So that's all that we have in terms of the long-term future. So let's go on now and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off, move this over here. Mr. Chris was here first tonight, I believe so. He says, good evening, everyone. Hope you all had a great day. Well, I did. Thank you so much for asking. My Aunt Lewis says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. My Nana says, hello, Jay. Nice day today. Glad to hear that. It was a nice day out there. Just a bit chilly at my house, at least. Mr. Chris says, please remember to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you have not already. Also, share with everyone that you know. It's free, and it helps the channel grow. He's absolutely correct. Right now, we have around a good... let's check it out. 18 people have tuned in and only 7 likes so far. So if you are a part of that group of 11 that have not hit the like button yet, go in and do so. It's free, and you can change your mind at any time. Now, if we go on and continue our way down, my Lewis says, I pray that everyone had a blessed day. Well, thank you so much for that. As you go even into, as we go over into the next couple of chats, Mr. Chris says currently it's 46 degrees here in Moncks Corner. Well, thank you so much for that weather update. Over at my house, it is around a good 39. Around a good 39. Mr. Oliver says, good evening. Cold, windy day at my house. Mr. and Miss Mallard stopped by the pond for a visit. Mr. I'm not going to try and botch that name today. Stopped by for a swim as well. The pond is doing quite well. I've missed everyone. Well, glad to hear that. You definitely do need that rainfall, though, because we don't want to see those pond levels start to go down, especially as you are under a drought right now. So, hopefully, we get some more rainfall. Mr. Chris has correction. It's 42. Okay, well, that makes a lot more sense now. Maya Lou says today in Georgetown, our high was 52 degrees. Right now at my house, not right now, but earlier, we had a high temperature today of around 57. So, a little bit warmer, about 5 degrees-ish or so. She also says currently it's 38 degrees. Continue our way down. Maya Lewis says again, Georgetown was sunny, however, it was chilly. Mr. Oliver said, Joseph, please tell the mini quakes to go away. Well, we have another earthquake to talk about today. We'll talk about that in just a second, but it's not in the area that you probably think. Then Maya Lewis says, I don't know about anyone else, but I am ready for some warm weather. I think pretty much almost all of us are. All of us are ready for some warmer weather at this point. Then also, when does meteorological spring start this year, Joseph? Well, meteorological spring starts on the 1st of March. It starts on the 1st of every 3 months, so it never changes. Winter starts on December the 1st. Spring starts on March the 1st. Summer starts on June the 1st. And then fall starts on September the 1st, if I'm not mistaken. September the 1st. So that's just when it starts. Every year it's always on the 1st. Now, climatological, fall, that's when, that happens during like the 20th, somewhere around there. But, we still have a little bit longer for that. Milo says, nephew, I noticed you said it was 31 in Georgetown. Is that normally a drip drop temperature or should it be in the 20s? Well, it just matters based off your house. If you have an old house or if you have like an old building, rather it be whatever it is, and you don't have pipes that are protected, yes, anytime it gets below freezing, you should. But I say everybody should by the time it gets to around like the 20s and stuff like that, because you can never be too safe for it. So I'd say around like the 20s. That's when everybody should, but it just matters based on your house and the information on it. But obviously, I don't have that information, so I wouldn't know. And Mr. Chris says, same here, getting too dry here in Moncks Corner. Let's see, how much rainfall have I received this week? This week, I have received around, only 500ths of an inch. How much have I seen this month? Around half an inch, maybe a little bit less than half an inch of rainfall this month, for the month of February. And if we look at the entire year, only 2.54 inches from January and February. So, definitely not seeing a whole lot of rainfall. Not seeing a whole lot. So that's all that we have here in terms of the chat. And so, I was just saying, there was indeed an earthquake today. There was indeed an earthquake today. And so, you might be asking, well, is it in that same Somerville area? Is it in that same Latson area, those same areas that always seems to be getting hit at this point. Well, no, no. It actually was in Irmo, South Carolina. Let's go ahead and look at that right now. Here it is right here. Here it is right here in Irmo, South Carolina, just to the west of Irmo. We had a 2.8 hit. That was around military time. That's 1843. So that's around 6 o'clock. Around 6:43 p.m. when this earthquake happened over here inside of Irmo, South Carolina, a 2.8, almost to a 3. But like I said, not in that same Somerville, Latson area to where we've been seeing all these other earthquakes and mini quakes go on. We haven't seen one today. Will one happen later? We don't know. But there was one up here, 2.8 inside of Irmo, South Carolina. Up here just to the west, just to the north and west of Columbia, if you don't know where Irmo is. So that's all I have to say throughout the earthquakes. Nothing else really to report on. So let's go on and talk about the 4 locations outside of South Carolina. You might be asking, 4 locations? What am I talking about? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these areas is because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly, and because they tune in almost nightly, we go on and give them their weather forecast for them. So we're going to start off with San Antonio first, as we always do. You have low temperatures tonight at around a good 65. High temperatures tomorrow at 77. And then low temperatures tomorrow night at around a good 57. In terms of precipitation, it looks like right now that you have a chance of showers tonight, but tomorrow showers are expected. Tomorrow showers are expected. You have an 80% chance. And, after that, though, you're good. You're not really expecting any sort of precipitation for the rest of next week. For now. Things can always change, but for now. Then as you go into your severe weather, your excessive rainfall, you actually do have a little bit of a shot for some severe weather. I kind of talked about it yesterday. I said that there was a little threat that was near you. It has been put in your area now. As we... Apparently all the other ones loaded except for San Antonio, so this one's taking a hot minute. But I know you are indeed in one. That is for, seems like right now, for like damaging winds and maybe an isolated tornado threat for tomorrow. So that's possible. That's a possibility. Isolated hail of up to an inch in diameter. You're seeing isolated damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour possible, and then also a small little tornado risk is there. It's low, but still a risk is still a risk. And then as you continue out, next week, you're going to have temperatures near 86 degrees, like on Thursday, 86. You're going to be getting close to 90. You're going to hit 90, well, when will that be? Still, I would have to, we can go on and check that out. But not like, it doesn't really look like next week will, unless, something crazy happens. But if I go in and push it forward, you're going to get close, it seems, if I look at the ensembles. But, they don't really have you quite in that 90-degree mark yet. Not yet. You will make it there, pretty soon, possibly. But for right now, it's looking like more just like a, just like a 70, 80-ish range or so. So now, what about for Raleigh, North Carolina? Low temperatures tonight around 28. High temperatures tomorrow at around a good 60. And then low temperatures tomorrow night at 42. Precipitation, for right now, not expected. So you're not looking for anything there. Now, in terms of your severe weather, excessive rainfall, nothing for you. So you're good there. And then in terms of excessive rainfall, same thing for San Antonio as well. Not expected at this time. Now, if we go on and, talk about any sort of your stuff for your future, looks like for the most part that you will see some rainfall this weekend. 100% chance of rainfall on Sunday, 90% chance on Sunday night. So you will get some rainfall. Half of an inch to potentially 3/4 of an inch is possible. Slight chance of rainfall again on Monday. But in terms of your temperatures, you will be increasing. 72 being your high as you go into Thursday and Friday. And actually, I did make a little bit of a mistake. I apologize for that. That you actually are under a risk for some isolated flash flooding on Sunday. So I do apologize for that. Then for Philadelphia, you have low temperatures tonight around 24, high temperatures tomorrow at around 44, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 27. Precipitation not expected until you get to around Sunday night. 20% chance of snowfall, rain and snow on Sunday. Then on Sunday night, a 40% chance of snow. 20% on Monday as well, so it's still there. Your temperatures will be trying to increase, but it's going to be mainly stagnant. Now, if we go into finally your severe weather or anything like that, you don't have that or anything like that. Duncan, Oklahoma, probably the most active area. Low temperatures tonight around 59, high temperatures tomorrow at 69, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 49. Precipitation is expected. You'll see rainfall tonight, tomorrow. Tomorrow night showers are likely. And then as you go over into your, temperatures, it looks like that you will be increasing. Tuesday, 81. You'll see 79 on Wednesday. So you will be increasing. Even if we go into Oklahoma, and Duncan, Oklahoma, in terms of your flash flood threat, you do in fact have a little bit of isolated flash flood threat as you go throughout tonight into tomorrow. So make sure that you're watching out for that. And then in terms of severe weather, isolated damaging wind gusts and isolated damaging hail is already in the forecast for you right now. And in fact, it's not over near you right now, but over there in, this is just to the east of Lubbock, Texas. There is a severe thunderstorm warning over there. 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts going on over there. That's near Crossbiton, Texas, just to the west of Dickens, Texas. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But there is severe weather going on right now. So this is going on right now as we currently speak. But that's all that I pretty much have to say throughout these 4 areas. What's going on right now throughout the U.S. weather news-wise, and then we're going to end this off. A storm system will bring heavy rainfall, thunderstorms, and flash flooding to portions of the southern plains today, the lower Mississippi Valley Saturday, and the southeast and the mid-Atlantic on Sunday. Another Bering system will impact the Alaskan west coast and its central interior through the weekend, bringing moderate to heavy snow, high winds, or some blizzard conditions. So Alaska will be receiving some blizzard conditions. Also, some fog, some dense fog, is also in the forecast for a good amount of Louisiana, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, New Iberia, going all the way into southern Mississippi as well, even going into the western parts, as well as Alexandria, going into Lake Charles. All these areas have a risk for some fog cover activity, and even parts of eastern Texas, and like Galveston, Texas, Port Arthur, Texas, Beaumont, Texas, all receiving the potential for some dense fog. So a lot of stuff to look at there, but for the most part, just stuff that we've already been seeing. But that's all that I have to really say. Let me check out the chat one more time. I don't see anything else in here. If I go in and look at the top fans, for the most part, if I go on and check, you have 1. That's both 2. That's 3. That's 4. We have 2 right there. 1. Seems like for Mr. Chris is that number 1 again for tonight. And then Maya Lou is at number 2. And then Miss Tolliver is at number 3. So congratulations to the 3 of y'all being the top fans of the night for tonight. If you want to be a part of the top fans, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Being here early, being active inside the chat. And in order to do any of that at all, you have to be a subscriber. So let's go ahead and give them a round of applause for that. That's all that I have to say. I'll be back tomorrow morning with your Saturday morning forecast update. Also, same thing tomorrow evening with your Saturday evening forecast update. Let me make sure real quick. Nobody sent me any sort of pictures or anything like that. No pictures or anything like that tonight. If you want to go in and send me a picture, you can by sending it to scweather360@gmail.com. Again, that is scweather360@gmail.com. Let me check out the chat one more time. Mr. Chris says, good night, everyone. Stay safe, warm, and hydrated. Absolutely. And that's all that I have to say. So, like I said, be back tomorrow. Hit those 2 buttons before you leave. Hit the subscribe button, 704, trying to get to 800. Hit the like button, share with your friends, family members, acquaintances, stuff like that. And everyone have a fantastic rest of your Friday.